The Journey to CEO Success. I'm your co-host, Melissa Saunders, along with Patrick Thean, award-winning serial entrepreneur, CEO coach, and a Wall Street Journal and USA Today best-selling author. His latest book, The Journey to CEO Success, is a #1 Amazon bestseller and the inspiration for this podcast. Hi, Patrick.
Hey, Melissa. It's a great day for a podcast.
I agree. And we have a special guest today. His name is Mike Whitehead. He's the founder and CEO of the Center for Intentional Leadership. For over 25 years, he and his team have guided CEOs, industry experts, and civic leaders to lead with purpose, accelerate growth, and realize new possibilities. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Melissa. Very glad to be here.
Mm-hmm.
Mike, welcome. And we've been friends for quite a few years here, so it's awesome that you are spending some time with us today. I hope you're going to enjoy this as much as I am.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I feel like we're just sitting in the living room talking. Is that good with you,
I know. Totally. So what we're going to do, because you have some real skills in intentional leadership, what I'm going to do a little bit different for our day today. So I'm going to maybe take the first 10 minutes and talk a little bit about what you do, because I think what you do really can help our audience. So our audience are CEOs trying to have a more joyful and successful life. So I think in that intentional leadership can really help that. So I'm just going to take 10 minutes and spend some time on that. And then we're going to spend the rest of the time about your journey, because your journey is fantastic. And I want to get our audience to really learn about that as well. So let's just take a minute, introduce yourself and introduce your company.
Well, it's, first of all, I got to tell you that the work that you're doing and the work that you and I are engaged in, even together, I feel like we're partners in purpose in a way.
Yes.
Look, we all want to be satisfied. We want to have a purpose. But we also want high performance in our organizations. Most of the people you and I work with are extremely high achieving oriented. They really are about making something happen. And if there's one thing that I think that exemplifies what you and I share is here at the center, it's one thing to be high achieving. It's another thing to have that and some personal fulfillment, joy, satisfaction along the journey. And a lot, of course, our clients are struggling with that. How do you have both? And I love that you said before we even started talking, people say you can't have your cake and eat it too. And you said, well, why not?
Right. Why the heck would you buy a cake and have somebody else eat it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, you should have it and eat it too. Totally.
Yeah.
So tell me about intentional leadership. Like, what do you guys do there?
Well, it's a beautiful. I have to tell you, I'm not even sure that I've ever experienced going to work. So when people say, "What do you do for a living?" It's funny. I actually think that is what I do for a living. For a living, we do intentional leadership, which basically is consistent with what you're saying. We help leaders, particularly, not only achieve high levels of success, but enjoying the journey while they're doing it, and also getting an enormous amount of satisfaction from their life, but not necessarily balancing their life, but really how to integrate work and also to integrate the professional and also make a difference in your community at the same time. So it's really about the holistic view of the person. And so as you and I know, that it takes intentionality to do something like that, because in our busy world, most people are in a hurry and most people are trying to accomplish as much as they can in the shortest period of time. And for me, that we sometimes lose the quality of our relationships when we do that, or we just lose the quality of living actually when we do that. So that's what we do, is we really are helping people become more intentional in how they run their businesses and also how they run their lives.
And why is that important? Why is in this? I know it sounds like a dumb question or a basic question, but why is intention important in this case? Because I've heard some people say, hey, you want to get your capabilities to a point where it's subconscious like abilities, right? But I've learned through you actually, that high intention is really important for leadership and for the person to develop the growth path as well. So share a little bit about that.
Well, I think sometimes for myself, even I it if I'm trying to start a new practice, and I know you have several practices that you promote in your book and your life, and if, for instance, one of your practices is we need to be more curious, for example, bring some curiosity to your conversation so that you don't have to know all the answers all the time, which, as you and I both know, as type A type executives, we do feel
Yeah.
like we know the answers, and we think everybody else should listen. But so when I even was trying to work with myself on that as a CEO, I recognized that it doesn't come naturally for me to be curious. I wish it did, actually. I think it did when I was younger because I was always curious about things. But, as my ego got more developed over time and people kept telling me what a good job I was doing, and I started achieving levels of success working with really wonderful people, I kind of started believing my own press clippings. Sometimes people say that. I started thinking pretty highly of myself. And
Yes.
then, and it was a very humbling experience for me somewhere in my mid 30s when my wife decided to let me know that maybe I shouldn't think so highly of myself, that maybe I should be a little bit more curious and not knowing everything and not telling the kids exactly how they should run their lives, for example, that I don't need to be a consultant at home
Yes.
the way I'm being a consultant at work.
That's hard though, right? That's hard.
That was difficult for me.
Yeah.
So back to your answer to your question, that took intentionality for me, one, to hear that message, because that was an unsettling message for me, that I was moving too fast, not paying attention. You could say not really being present. But then I had to practice that. And I know you're a big fan of, you got to have rituals, you got to have practices.
Yes.
So that's why intentionality is important. I can't just flip a switch one day and say, I'm now curious.
Yes. Yes. So tell me, why do people come calling? Why do people call you to work? Because you got really good clients, and I know they get a lot of value from you. So what are the one or two most biggest problems that causes someone to go, Mike can help me with that?
Well, it's typically someone who is fairly successful already. So they're not actually looking, how do I make more money or how do I grow even faster? Actually, they know how to do that. That's really not the issue. What they're interested in is, why is it that I'm doing all these great things and I'm achieving great things and my company is growing, but there's something about, it's not bringing me the level of satisfaction that I thought it would. Or I am getting feedback from people saying, you're so involved in your business and you're so consumed by your business that there's no time for our relationship, whether it's the personal, relationship they're in or their friends too. I see a lot of my clients
Yeah.
who they don't have as many friends as they used to because
Yes.
their heads down, they're working, they're building, and then one day they get a little older and they look up and they go, wow, how did I get this old this quickly?
Yes. Yes.
How did I get this gray hair this fast? How did this beard turn this way? I don't know.
Yeah. So what are the again, what are the outcomes that typically happen when somebody works with you?
The first thing that almost every person will say to me is, I am more present in my life. I'm not as stressed as I used to be. I'm not as worried as I used to be. I'm not trying to move too quickly to get someplace. I'm actually experiencing the satisfaction of being in the place.
Yes.
So they really start realizing that building the business, growing the company, that is the fun. In fact, sometimes the exits, now what do I do? I've got to go
Yeah.
build something else because the building and the creating is the fun. So
And
I
when you
think
do
people,
that, you like to use the word being. In fact, when you were
yes,
working with me and Michael Prager, I
yes,
learned this from you. It was about you said, Patrick, we are human beings.
yeah,
Stop trying to be a human doing.
yeah,
Yeah.
right,
Right. And somehow I believe that, or what I've seen is that when executives work with you on that, somehow, even though they slow down, they actually achieve more. Is that not true?
Oh, well, we see it in sports, right? We see great athletes who are say they use words like I'm in a flow,
Yes.
and I would say that's a state of being. I'm not distracted. I'm not thinking about my next shot. I'm only thinking about this game I'm playing right now, this moment. And boy, the performance, think about on a racetrack, how present does the race car driver have to be to go hundreds of miles an hour around a track? Imagine being distracted on a racetrack.
Yes, you would die probably.
You would die. And I think to some extent we are dying and because we are going too fast. And
Mhm.
I mean, this just happened to me yesterday. I can't believe this popped in my head, but I was leading a seminar yesterday, 17 executives in a room. We're, an hour into the session after having breakfast. And all of a sudden, one of the women executives begins to get up and she's spitting up some water. And clearly she runs out of the room to the restroom. And of course, I thought she was just spitting up water, that maybe she was, had drank too fast or something. And somebody followed her out. And I didn't think a whole lot about it. But 5 minutes later, she came back in. And it's a very close knit group of people. So obviously, we wanted to make sure she was okay. And we said, "What happened?" She said, "I was choking on a bagel." And she couldn't breathe. And so when she swallowed the water would not go down and she was panicking. And so the water was coming out and she had to run out. And it finally dislodged when she got there, but it was scary, of course. And we came back in the room and we all paused because the irony of all ironies, we were talking about slowing down and we were talking about presence before we got into our strategic conversation. And she said, "Do you know what I realized is I was trying to eat the bagel quickly so that I could get back into our groove. She was moving too fast. She was eating too fast, and it almost killed her." Now,
Wow.
I hate that we had that kind of example in the room, but I can tell you everybody got present in that moment. So
Yes.
here's Patrick is the theory. I would say the assertion, not the theory. The assertion that we make at the center here is that presence is the access to performance. It's the access to safety. It's the access to quality. It's the access to process improvement. And it's the access to satisfaction. So we actually think that if you can get people to slow down and get present, they will be so much better in all these areas, and they won't be having accidents occur because anytime I'm in a hurry, I'm probably not present.
That's right. That's right. Cool. And so thank you so much, Mike. And this podcast is all about helping people have a more joyful and successful life.
Yep.
And if you can be more present, you probably get more joy and everything. So I'd love to now kind of segue into your personal journey. How did you get into this? Like, tell us a bit about your personal journey. And in fact, I'm going to share that what I know about you and what you shared with me, if I may. You had a
Yes.
tough upbringing too. Like, you didn't
Yeah.
you came from a difficult place. So
Yes.
I would invite you to share as much as you would like or not.
Sure.
But yeah, how did you go? Share a little bit about yourself and how did you come to do this into your journey to intentional
Yeah.
leadership?
Yeah. Well, I think that I could probably ask anyone, have you ever had any difficult times in your life? And I'm sure everybody would say, "Oh yeah, I've had some difficult times." But most people don't talk about them very much. We all
Yes.
know that most people have some bumps in the road, And the difficulty in my early years was growing up without parents, having lost my parents when I was really young, and I lost both of my parents. And so I spent most of my childhood experience living with different families, being moved around quite a bit, what's referred to as the foster care system in the United States. And so my experience of loss early of both of my parents, and then this wondering about what was the value of life, and trying to understand what it meant to be a person, what it meant to be in relationships with other people, and how to make it in life. What's the strategy here? How do I become successful in life without this kind of guidance that I thought I would have? And I will tell you that most of it is, now when I look back, that was probably the impotence, what's the word I'm looking for? The genesis maybe of intentionality, because I didn't have the word for it at that time when I was younger. But I had this intention that I wanted to figure out how to be happy in life. Very similar to what you said about what the purpose of your work is. I wanted to be happy, but I also wanted to achieve something with my life. And I set out to figure that out. So I studied in college. I studied education first, and then I went to graduate school and got a master's degree in counseling psychology. And the counseling and the psychology background was that human dynamic study, and also the study of change. And what I realized when I was studying change was, oh my gosh, I've lived all these principles my entire life. I just didn't have words for them. And so at one point, I discovered that things don't happen to you, they happen for you. And I know people have said that before, but I'd never heard that. Well, it's probably not actually true. Things do happen to you, but they also happen for you.
Also happened for you.
And so I did have some things happen to me that were unfortunate, for sure. What I chose to do was say, okay, what was this? How can I use this for me to be successful going forward? And I did do that. And I think that was my journey of intentionality. And so I created a very different life than what I had grown up with.
Yes.
And have our company's been in business now. We're just celebrating our 25th year this year. So,
oh, congratulations, man! Congratulations.
Thank you.
I love that when you said things don't happen to you, they happen for you. Then you corrected yourself. And by the way, when you say 2 versus 4, that is dualistic thinking. That's either or. But then you corrected yourself and you said, actually, no. Things do happen to you. You acknowledge it.
Yeah.
They also happen for you. So it's both. And
yes.
one of the things I've noticed, working with you is you embrace the non-dualistic thinking, and I found that to be very helpful in my life, frankly, for my own journey to have more joy with the success. And so it's really nice that I say something different. I say, look, 10% is what happens to you, and then 90% is what you choose to do with that. So using your idea of things happen for you causes you to do certain things or make certain decisions, and that's amazing. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, boy, we live in a world that doesn't seem very dualistic anymore.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know how you make business work thinking in a dualistic manner. I really don't. With AI, I'm fascinated by it. I'm immersed in it right now. I think, oh my gosh, I mean, you don't have to know anything hardly anymore. It's all there for you.
Well, what you said to me once was, and I applied one of your learnings last week. I went to visit a client in lean manufacturing, and I've been around lean different, but I felt like this client was a little bit different because they were more into lean than I've ever seen any other company. And so my cohort in crime, Ryan Walcott, reminded me. He said, Patrick, when you go to this meeting, you're going there not to be a knower, but to be a learner. I think we learned that from you. Like, don't go there.
Yeah.
And so I turned on curiosity. I went to the meeting and I learned a heck of a lot about how they dealt with lean, and really improved my life tremendously just from that one meeting. I'm still processing the learnings that I had in that meeting. So I love that idea of, like, don't go to things as a knower, go there as a learner.
Yeah, it sounds odd if you tell a CEO, for instance, hey, you don't go there as a knower, don't go there as a doer, go there as a beer.
Yeah.
And like, what are you talking about? What do you mean that? And but the truth is that, when you and I look at what are the competencies of an executive going forward in the world of artificial intelligence, I mean, I don't really have to know a whole lot anymore. And I don't even, it even tells me what to do even, right? So what we're exploring here is that maybe you and I, in the age of artificial intelligence, are going to have to develop this skill called sensing, like sensing, my ability to sense something using my sensibilities, not my knowing, not necessarily my strategic doing, but how do I recognize patterns and sense things and use artificial intelligence to inform me,
Yes.
but use sensing to transform me?
Yes. And so maybe you let go, because people are asking me this all the time, right? How do I work with AI, etc.? Maybe you let go and don't fight
Yeah.
the knowing part, because I think people get threatened when they think, well, AI is going to replace me. No, if you think that, it has already replaced you. But I
Yes.
think AI replaces certain things that you do, but it can transform you. It can help you go do other higher quality, more valuable things. I love that you said like the sensing part. I think that this this whole thing about joyful and success. I think what I've discovered is if you see something, the human protection, self-preservation thing is to
Yeah.
go fight it immediately. Is to go fight it.
Yes. Yes.
Here's why it's no good. That kind of stuff. I found that if I just embrace it first and don't worry about it, just embrace it, uh, then it opens up, and then add a drop of curiosity. That then
Yeah.
opens up my mind to be okay. What else? And so you shared an idea today that I've never heard yet, which is sensing, and I call that actually. I talk about having better judgment,
Yeah.
but actually, yeah, you're right. Right, if you could develop your sensing skill, that could help you with making better decisions, better judgment, with giving up control of the knowing part to AI. Let AI do the knowing for you.
Right. Right. And thank goodness. I mean, if you look at it like a partner, it's no problem. There's another thing that I think that you do very well, and that is that I'll call it making distinctions. So when you, as I've known you, you take in information, but you're able to distinguish certain principles and practices and rhythms, you call it. And a lot of people can't draw those distinctions. They can get the information, but they can't distinguish it the way that I think that's what you do. I think that's what really successful CEOs do when they trust that they've got years of experience, and it doesn't have to be knowledge. It can be my ability to see patterns, to see, in fact, there are a lot of CEOs right now who cannot see the value of artificial intelligence. So that it's
Yes.
not that they don't know, they can't see it, they can't distinguish it, they can't sense it.
And I think the blockers. So I try to help people get rid of the blockers. And I think the more blockers you get rid of, the more you allow yourself to experience more joy. I think they're very connected. And I think that self-preservation is one of the blockers.
Yeah.
When you think that when you self-identify with a certain aspect of your job too much, now when something comes up that threatens it, you tend to block it. That's how
Yeah.
how we think. I got to preserve because my value is in this. I still remember the first company I sold, and I remember, I sat down and I was depressed. I had the what they call the post Super Bowl victory Monday blues, right? It's like,
Right. Yeah.
and I was sitting there, and my wife Paige said, "Why do you look so unhappy?" I said, "Babe, I am useless now." She said, "What are you talking about?" I said, I like, I don't think I can program anymore. Now, I used to be a master programmer.
Yeah.
And in fact, our first product at Metasys, I built the heuristic smart engine to create intelligent routing for transportation.
Hmm.
So I'm sitting there going, I'm useless now. I can't program anymore. And Pei laughed at me. She laughed at me, and I said, "Why are you laughing? That's not very empathetic. Like, your husband is in pain here, and you're laughing at me." And she said, "Because why would you think anybody wants to hire you to program? That's like the least valuable thing you do." That's what she told me. That is the
Wow.
least valuable thing you do. You're about to go discover more valuable things to do. And I said, well, what would that be? And she said, well, I don't know. I mean, you just sold the company. Just relax a little bit. But that is the least valuable thing you do. Think about all the people you put together. You engineered the company. You created relationships. Like all these are much more valuable. But for me, for that moment, I was stuck in this place where I was self-preservation. I can't.
Yeah.
Who's going to hire me to program? Damn it! I don't know the new tools, and I was like, the program world has moved on. And Pei was right. Like I didn't have to program anymore. And years later, I said to her, I said, I've realized that I program relationships and people. Like I help people to change their behavior and change what they're doing so they can be more successful and joyful. And I do see the patterns there. And it's programming, man. It's like you got to change your programming. So
Right.
I think part of people who are afraid of AI may be too identifying themselves with aspects of their jobs that they believe AI will replace, and therefore they get scared. And I suggest instead of getting scared, get happy, man. Like
Yeah.
I just freed up 2 hours. What am I going to do with the 2 hours? Versus what can I do with the 2 hours? I'm sorry. Versus, oh my God, what am I going to do to replace that? My goodness, there's so many things you do to replace that could be more joyful for you.
Yeah. Well, like you said, get curious about the possibilities. That's fun life. But I'm working with some people now who, they have getting close to retiring or exiting, and they are going through that very same thing that you're talking about. Which, wait a minute, I think the phone's going to stop ringing here in about 2 months.
Yes.
And I'm going to feel like, who am I? What do I do next? And that's
what is your journey like as you move forward too? Because you're kind of hitting that age, I believe.
Yeah, right.
So we're the same age. So I just told people
Yeah,
how old I am
sure.
as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, what are your thoughts on that piece? How are you in this piece of life right now? Because you seem really joyful.
Well, I feel a lot of joy right now in life, but I don't really I don't know that I could ever stop participating in these types of conversations. And I sure hope that maybe I get a little longer life to live, so that because these are joyful conversations. And when I wake up in the morning, I mean, you go back to practices. One of the questions that you alluded to was, what practices do you have? One of the most simple practices I have that keep me joyful is, when I get up in the morning, instead of reaching for my phone and checking my messages, which is right beside my bed, I haven't gotten to the point where I can take it away from my bed yet. But I don't go to it. What I do is I sit up, and my wife knows this. I'll put 2 feet on the floor beside. I want to feel my feet on the floor and be still for a minute. And I take a deep breath, and I get, well, what day is it today? I kind of get, what is the date? What is the year? And it gets me present in that moment to say, what is my intention for today? I just want to get grounded. That's it. I just want to be grounded. And by the way, I'm extraordinarily grateful that my feet are on that floor. Because once you get a little gray hair going, we all know, hey, aren't you grateful that your feet are on the floor and that you can actually walk? That's good.
Yes.
So I'm grateful. I start my day with a lot of gratitude and joy, and that. And by the way, I think that I'm up to about, I don't know, 70 to 80% of the time that I do that, and other 20 to 30% I forget. And I tell you, almost every time I forget, the quality of my day is different. It's not as good. It's not as good as the other days. So I'm working my way up to the high percentages, but that's where I'm at so far.
Well, thank you. So thank you so much. This is the last question I'm going to ask you, and I ask all our guests this question because our podcast is to help CEOs have a more joyful and successful life. What last advice would you like to share with our audience so that they can go out and have a more joyful and successful life?
Boy, that's a great question. Boy, am I hesitant to give advice. And so rather than give advice, why don't I share my perspective instead of advice? And that is that, I wish that when I was, well, I'll start with, when I was younger, I wish I had taken more advice than I did. That would have been helpful if I hadn't been so arrogant to think that I knew everything. But now at this point, that there's I don't feel as though I have to prove anything anymore. And so my perspective is that if one is still trying to prove something at age 50 or 55 or 60 or 65, to me that could be a very big waste of time, actually, because you've already made it. You've already, you've accomplished a great deal, and therefore you could relax a little bit and enjoy the fruits of the labor. And I really, man, I always encourage my clients to just take that, go buy that boat if that's what you want to go do, or take that trip, go back to the office. But man, take some time and enjoy, go to Singapore a little bit more, I hear you're
Sunday.
going, I hear you're going Sunday, and take your kids on fun trips, do things that you worked hard. So enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you, Mike. Melissa, back to you.
Wow. Thank you, Mike. Just nuggets of wisdom that I know all of our audience can use. And I know I'm going to focus on being a human being more and not a human doing. That was unbelievable. Never heard that. So thank you.
Good.
And until next time, listen to Mike. Go out there, enjoy this beautiful life and this journey we're on. Until next time. Bye.
Thank you, Melissa. Thanks, Patrick.
Thank you.